there may not be...
Before the first presidential debate, Mitt Romney was trailing President Obama in the polls. Afterwards, he evened things up. Then there was the vice presidential debate. Vice President Biden was neck and neck with Romney's running mate Paul Ryan. After their debate, the polls showed them, well, more or less the same.
You know, polls give an idea of the horse race aspect of the campaign, but they don't necessarily predict the outcome.
The very first known poll was used in 1824 by the Harrisburg Pennsylvanian to predict the outcome of the presidential race between Andrew Jackson and John Quincy Adams. The result of that poll, Jackson led Adams 335 votes to 169. After Jackson won both the popular vote and the electorate vote, polling gradually became popular. After years of correctly predicting presidential victories through a national postcard survey, the Literary Digest predicted that Alf Landon was more popular than Franklin Roosevelt. What they didn't know was that their postcards were being sent to mostly affluent Republicans. At the same time, a more scientific poll led by George Gallup correctly predicted Roosevelt's landslide win. Today, polls are much more scientific than postcard mailings, but are they really a good predictor of elections? And do they really tell us the truth about the political preference of different regions?
Polls can predict or gauge their opinions in the moment, but lots of things are going to happen over these next few weeks that are going to cause those undecided voters to shift here and there. And so how they feel today may not be how they feel 2 days from now.
The most influential polls over the years have been Gallup, Pew, and Harris, which use phone interviews to conduct polls. Nowadays, we have so many media sources trying to conduct their own polls that it's really hard to tell what's accurate. In 2008, most of the polls gave unanimous results predicting Obama as the winner of the New Hampshire Democratic primary over Hillary Clinton. Unfortunately, they were wrong. New Hampshire's Democratic presidential primary elected Clinton as their winner. How could the pollsters have gotten it wrong? It is not the first time public opinion polls, taken before people vote, or exit polls, taken as voters exit the polling station, have failed. In 2000, Florida exit polling prompted several networks to jump the gun and declare an Al Gore victory over Bush. Also, in the 1948 presidential race, national polls led to preemptive headlines reading, "Dewey defeats Truman." Looking back on these polling blunders, we have to wonder how much credibility polls should be given.
If they're done correctly, or they're done to survey the widest demographic as possible and really think about different groups of people that you're asking the same questions.
I think if a political poll is varied enough with the people that it asks, it is credible to the amount that it can be credible without an actual voting taking place.
There have certainly been a number of mistakes by polling institutions over the years. After the first presidential debate, only 2% of voters changed their mind on who they would vote for. But as Pew Research Center's Scott Keeter says, polls are by no means a perfect instrument, but they do make it possible for more opinions, held by a broader and more representative range of citizens, to be known to the government and potentially heeded. Rebecca Irwin, News Team Boulder. The University of Denver was the center stage for the first presidential debate of this election between President Barack Obama and Governor Mitt Romney. However, this is not the first time a president has visited the Denver campus. 101 years ago to the day, President William Taft became the first sitting president to visit DU. It wasn't a debate, but it was still a president. The first debate of this presidential election will bring in more than 12,000 people to the DU campus, around 4,000 national and international journalists who will broadcast the event to over 80 million people. The presidential debates are the second most watched event in American television, right after the Super Bowl. Over the next few weeks, the presidential candidates will debate at other universities across the country, including Hofstra University in Hempstead, New York on October 16th, and Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida on October 22nd. And this is no coincidence. There is a long-standing tradition of presidential debates taking place on college campuses. However, the standard was set in 1960 when the debate between John F. Kennedy and Richard Nixon became the first one ever televised.
So what's my plan?
The necessity of debates in those days were for the people to learn about each candidate's platform and ideas. Nowadays, we know these things well before the debates thanks to the multitude of advertisements bombarding every media outlet.